welcome back to the vlog. Thanks for joining us. I really do appreciate your support. There were some questions about the hand selections I decided to show on my last vlog. I thought I was just showing interesting hands. Some people say, well, you should show them all. And I go, it's really hard to show all the hands. But for this particular vlog, I decided I am going to show every hand that I played where I voluntarily put money into the pot and saw the flop. So you get to see it all, and there is some very boring hands, of course, and then there are some exciting ones, and on the exciting ones I'll kind of break it down like I normally do. Also, there was a large number of pocket pairs that I was dealt this particular day. Wasn't dealt very many suited connectors, as you will see, so I just play what I get dealt, and so here it is. So sit back, relax, enjoy. Here it comes. All right, we're back at Capital Casino in the 1-3 game. Buying for $500. First 20, 30 minutes or so, don't play a hand, just sitting around. Then I get pair of fours in the cutoff. There's a couple limpers. I raise to 15. I get 2 callers. So we're going to go 3 ways to a flop. And the flop is Queen 6-3 Rainbow. So we don't really hit anything, but if no one has a queen in this spot, there isn't too many draws out there since we are blocking 4-5. I bet 20, expecting everyone to fold unless someone has a queen or possibly a 4-5. I get 1 caller. He is a competent and tricky player who is also very sticky. So when the deuce of clubs comes on the turn, I'm just going to try to get the showdown. He could have a queen. He could have something else. I check it back. River card is the 7 of spades. My mind doesn't change too much. He checks to me. I'm going to check this back. Hopefully my 4s are good. He turns over 7-5 of clubs. So I flopped a gut shot, turned a flush draw, and made a pair on the river. He takes down the spot. So I've noticed the table is willing to call off very large bets, but not willing to put any raises in pre-flop. So I'm going to be taking the lead on a lot of these hands. And here I'm in the big blind with 2 7s. It was limped around. I put in a fairly good size raise to 25 and end up getting 4 callers, which is a little surprising. Flop comes 10-10 deuce, rainbow. So I think my hand needs some protection. I go ahead and bet 45. I figure the only one that's going to continue is someone with a 10 or someone with a pocket pair. It's folded to the player on the button, who's a very straightforward player, and he decides to raise to 150. And of course, at this point, I'm sure he has a 10, and I'm just going to get out of the way. I muck it. He did end up showing that he had ace-10 of spades on this particular hand. There's 1 limper from late position. I like down at 2 9s from the small blind. Put in a juicy raise of $25. Kick called by the player in the big blind. Everybody else folds out. So we're going to go heads up to a flop with $56 in the pot. Flop comes down ace, king, 5, rainbow. I bet really small trying to see if the player has an ace, and he folds right away, so we get this one through. Here we are on the button with 2 deuces. I go ahead and put in the raise, end up getting 2 callers. So we go 3 ways to a flop with 45 in. Both blinds are calling. Flop comes out ace 10 7. The small blind actually led in the dark and the big blind put in the call. So just folding here. Nothing we can do. Under the gun +1, look down at 2 4s. Decide to raise to 15. We end up getting 3 callers for the 15. So we're going to go 4 ways to a flop with $61 in the pot. Flop comes down really good. Queen 7-4 rainbow. So bottom set. We're looking to get some action from someone with a queen. I bet 25. It gets folded back around to the player to my right, and he decides to put in the call. Looking to get 3 streets of value from him, but when the king of hearts comes on the turn, it does put up a overcard to his queen if that's what he had. And unless he has king, queen, he's probably not going to be too happy about this. I still bet 60, trying to get some action from him. He is a little bit of a looser style player. River card comes as a 3. It does make the straight of 5-6, but I really think he had a queen. I decided to bet a little bit big just because if he's going to call me, he's going to call me down, make him pay. He kind of flashes his cards to himself as I start to assemble a bet. It makes me feel like he had a queen with possibly a flush draw that he picked up on the turn. So he tosses it in and we take down this nice pot. The hand immediately after that, I'm under the gun with 5-4 suited, open for a raise to 15, end up getting 3 callers. So we're going to go 4 ways to a flop with 63 in the pot. Flop comes down Jack 3 deuce rainbow. So we got an open-ender, and we're going to be betting. We decide on a sizing of $25, trying to make it look like we have a jack or an overpair, and we get called by the player in middle position who has a fairly deep stack, and I think he probably has a jack at this point. I'm not sure whether he likes his kicker or not. The turn card comes as a queen of diamonds. Definitely not a good card for our hand, but it does put up an overcard to a jack. So I decided to bet again. I bet 50 here. I think maybe I should size up to closer to 80 to 90 to make it really look like I have a queen. He thinks for quite some time before putting in the call. So I put him on a hand like Jack 10, maybe something like King Jack. River card comes as an 8 of diamonds. We brick out, and now it's time to really put pressure on the player. I still think he only has a 1 pair type of hand. So I assemble a bet for 140, slide it in, and he starts to go into the tank. He was probably there for a good, I don't know, 40, 50 seconds thinking about this hand. He does end up finding the fold, and we get this one through. So here's $353 coming back towards us. That could have been going the other direction. We're in the hijack with ace queen offsuit. End up raising 2 limpers to 25. We end up getting 2 callers, so we're going to go 3 ways to a flop with $81 in the pot. Flop is a good one. It comes down Queen 5-5 rainbow. So we smash the flop. It's check to us. Now, what do we do? Some people say slow play. I just do my standard continuation. Some people get in a habit of checking their strong hands back too much and betting their weak ones. I think you need to be balanced, so bet your strong and your weak hands together. People have been very sticky, so when I look down at 2 9s in the low jack, I decided to raise to 20. I end up getting 4 callers. So this pot is going 5 ways to a flop with 101 in it. And it comes 7-6 deuce rainbow. So an excellent flop for a pair of 9s. If no one has a hand like 7-6, I should be fine. I bet 35 and I end up getting 2 callers. The big blind player is a tricky player who will make some moves. The player under the gun is very straightforward. So when the straightforward player puts in the call, I'm not too worried about him. It's the one in the big blind that I have to be concerned with. Turn card comes as the 8 of clubs. We still have an overpair, and now we picked up a open-end straight draw. Both players check to me. I'm going to continue. I bet 75. Thinking back on this, or looking back on this, I really feel I should go larger. I had some discussions with some people on the channel, and they seem to agree with that. And so in the future, I'll be betting the spot with a larger bet size. Anyway, back to the big blind. He doesn't think 75 is quite enough, and he puts in a raise to 200. Now, this is the same player that raised me when I flopped a set of queens a while ago, and he is very capable of making moves. And when he flopped a set of queens against me, I studied him for a very long time, trying to pick up on some things, and I saw some similarities between this bet and the one previously where he had a draw. So knowing that he's capable and knowing that I think I'm best right now, I'm going to put max pressure on. So I decided to jam. And of course, this is a very dangerous jam. He could have something like 4-5, which would be there on the flop and definitely check raise in the turn. But I just felt like he was making a move again, and his body language was very similar. And he ends up just mucking the hand, and we take down this nice pot. All right, things are going along smoothly. We're up about $450. Look down at 2 10s from under the gun, putting a raise to 15. End up getting 5 callers for the 15. So yeah, we're going 6 ways to a flop. Flop comes down 10-8-3 with 2 clubs. So we got top set. There is straight draws and flush draws out there. I think my sizing's a little small here. I bet half pot of 45. After talking with people, I think I should be betting closer to 2/3 to 3/4 pot. Anyway, I bet 45. I get 1 caller from the player in middle position. Haven't played too much with this player. Not quite sure what he'll be calling here. Most likely it's going to be something like a straight draw or a flush draw since I have top pair locked up. Turn card comes as a 7 of hearts, so it completes the obvious straight draw of Jack 9, but it doesn't make the flush, so I feel comfortable betting. Again, I go for about a half pot size bet. I think this should be larger. He thinks for just a little bit before putting in the call. So I'm looking to dodge a lot of scary cards at this point. The river card comes is a 2 of hearts, which I actually thought was a blank. I didn't realize the backdoor flush got there. So I decided to check it to him in case he had a missed club draw and that he would want to try to take this one away from me. Because I thought it was more likely that he would bluff than, say, call me down with, you know, second pair or third pair. Anyway, he rolls over 9-8 offsuit. So we ended up winning this. I don't think we were going to get any more value though. In this particular hand, there was a limp on the button, and I thought it was really silly. So looking down at ace king, I go, hey, I'm going to put in a big raise, punish this guy for limping on the button. I make it 25, and of course he does the old limp re-raise. He only had about $200 total, and I was running good at the time, so I said, what the heck, let's just get it in there. So we end up going heads up, he's all in, and the flop comes queen high, and I knew I was toast.
Okay, you screwed up. No big deal. Just keep playing your game.
So he took it down with 2 kings there. Of course, being on the button with 6-4, I decided on a loose raise.
I know it's Happy Face Hold'em's favorite hand, but you shouldn't be playing 6-4 spades. I think you're playing it because you just lost the last one and you're a little bit tilted.
Zeus is right again. I was a little bit steamed from the previous hand where I doubled up the guy with kings. Luckily, I get away cheap because the player bets into me for $60, so I'm not going to have any c-bet here. I'm just going to fold this thing and lick my wounds and concentrate on the very next hand, which happens to be ace king in the blinds, and I get a limp on the button again. Are you kidding me? Well, I said I wasn't going to fall for it twice, but here I go. I raise to 25. The button just puts in the call, so he doesn't raise me back. Flop comes king high. I put out a continuation bet. He quickly mucks it, and I had to show just because, wow, how often does that happen? Limps on the button. Huh. I'm in the cutoff, and there was a limper, so I decided to raise to 15 with my king 9 of hearts. And I get called by the limper, who is the straightforward player to my right. He checks it over to me on a king 5 deuce with 2 hearts. I decided to check this one back. You have to have some really strong hands in your check back range, and this one fits perfectly. Turn card comes as a 10 of hearts. So we got the flush, and we have our opponent leading into us for 10 whole dollars. We're just going to smooth call here and see if we can get some extra value on the end. The river card comes as a perfect ace of diamonds. He leads in to me again, this time for 20, and now it's time to get value. I decided to go for a very healthy bet, an over bet. I make it 110. And he doesn't think for very long at all before he puts in the money for the call. And he even showed his cards before I can even turn over mine. He had ace 10 of spades, so he makes 2 pair, and we get full value off of this with our king 9 of hearts. All right, let's get back to those pocket pairs. Under the gun, 2 aces. Okay, I opened for 15. Probably could go larger, but I did 15. And we end up getting 4 callers for the $15. So we're going to go 5 ways to a flop with 75 in the pot of queen, jack, 4, rainbow. So pretty good flop. It's checked to me. I decided to check this to the player on the button, who is a short stack and looked like he was interested in the flop. hoping that he just jams, and that's exactly what he does. He goes all in for $84. So it's folded back around to the player on my direct right, who was the same player who had the kings against me. And he puts in the call for the $84. He has about another $120, $130 behind. And at this point, I'm just going to go ahead and get it all in. So after I figure out how much the original bet was and how much he had left behind, I just jam it. And he pretty quickly snaps it off. And I said, okay, let's just have a good run out. I feel I'm ahead of both players at this point. Turn card is a 9 of hearts, not very good, and the river card is a queen of clubs, even worse. The player to my right shows king 10 for the straight. The other player who went all in, he had king queen. So here I am with aces, and I come in third place. Ugh. Oh well, back to the drawing board. So after this hand, I decided to take a little break, had some food, come back to a different table, look down at 2 queens from the low jack. Ended up making it $20 and got 2 callers for the $20. The big blind has been extremely active and he's playing a very short stack. The other player has a deeper stack, so he's the one I'm more concerned about. Flop comes out 10-8-7 with the 8-7 of clubs. So not a great flop for our particular hand, but we still do have an overpair and both opponents end up checking to me. I'm going to bet about half pot, hoping to just take it down. And if someone calls me, I just hope for a brick on the turn so I can make a large bet. I end up getting 1 caller, and that's from the player in the big blind with a very short stack. He only has like $40 left behind. So it's going to go in as long as it's like not a super scary card. 4 diamonds looks safe enough to me. He checks. As I said, he only has about $40, so I put them all in. He doesn't think too long before putting in the call. He's mumbling that I think he has a big pair. Anyway, he's right. River card comes as a 6, not a good card, especially when my opponent turns over 6-8 offsuit to take this down. So the player in the big blind from the last hand has been crazy active and is playing all sorts of garbage. He opened for a raise to $10. I make it 30 on the button with king jack offsuit. This is good enough to isolate, I believe. Flop comes down queen 10-8 with 2 clubs, and he just jams $72. And I'm not sure what he has. He could have just about anything here. He can have something from 7-9. He could have jack-9 for a straight. But even if he had a hand like king-queen, I'm getting priced in with my king-jack. So I think I have to call. I have no idea what he has. He could be betting a monster. He could be betting absolute total air. He has been playing very erratically so far. So I ended up putting in the call for the 72 and just hoping to spike an ace or a 9. Comes 5-5, so we totally brick out. And he shows over ace-9 offsuit. So it was an excellent play on his part if he knew I exactly had king-jack. He had 2 blockers and a high card. Okay, there's a theme going through here. Same player as my opponent. I have ace-7 of hearts. Raise to 15. He puts in the call. Looking to spike something good. Flop comes ace-high. Ace-10 deuce with 2 spades, 1 heart. He checked it over to me. I bet half pot. He doesn't think too long before putting in the call. Turn card comes is very interesting. It is a king of hearts, so it does complete possible straight draws, but it also gives me a nut flush draw. So when he checks to me, I'm going to continue this time for 30, another half pot size bet, and he thinks for a moment before raising to 105. So it's going to cost me $75 more to draw to my nut flush, and to be honest, he could be doing this with just about anything. I figure he has a hand like king 10 or an ace with a bigger kicker than mine, but I'm not folding. This guy's a wild man. I'm calling. I got a nut flush draw, hoping to hit something good on the end. River card comes is a deuce of diamonds. So we miss our flush, but it does counterfeit king 10, and it does give us a king high kicker now with our pair of aces. He ends up jamming all in for $64. I put in the quick call. He shows king 10, so he did get counterfeited, and we end up getting a little bit lucky on this one and taking down this nice pot. The same player from the previous hand has reloaded. One player limps, he raises to 15 and is folded to me on the button. I look down at ace king, decide to raise to 55, just trying to get it heads up with the wild man. The player who limped now thinks for a while before putting in the call for the 55. This has me a little bit concerned. He is not a wild man at all. Then the player who raised to 15 jams his stack in, which is only $90. So it's a $35 raise on top of mine, which doesn't reopen the betting. I really want to isolate him. If I wanted to give him like $5 more, just so I can go ahead and stack. Anyway, only thing I can do here in this spot is to put in a call for $35. And of course, this brings in the player who limped under the gun for the 35. More than likely, he has some sort of pocket pair, hoping to spike some sort of ace or king on the flop and try to take him to value town. Flop comes down, king 8-3, rainbow, perfect flop. Player now checks. I'm going to try to extract value from a pocket pair, say something like nines through jacks. I decided on a bet of $90, which is about 1/3 pot. It's big enough to not give him a cheap draw, but if he puts this in, then I can go ahead and stack off on the next card, whatever it might be. He tanks for a little bit before finally releasing his hand, and we get to see a run out. So the run out comes fairly clean. It comes with a 4 of hearts and a jack of diamonds. We turn over our hand, and the other player who got all in had queen 10 offsuit. The player with the queen 10 did not reload. The game broke shortly thereafter. Most of the players moved to another game to fill those games up. And we ended up calling it a day. Ended up with a nice tidy little win. And you guys got to see every hand I played. So I hope you enjoyed it. It's a little bit different from usual. I'm sorry if this is a longer vlog than you're accustomed to watching. Just a reminder, Andrew Locke and myself will be at Lucky Chances Casino on November 10th for a meetup game. If you guys are in the area, please come by and say hello and stop and play with us. We're going to be playing 3-3 no limit with a $500 max. Should be a really good time, and I hope to see everyone there. Also, my 1-year anniversary of vlogging is coming up, and it has been a heck of a year, not only for me in learning how to become a better player, but also I really enjoy corresponding with all of you out there, and thank you for your support. I'm going to be releasing my financial information coming from the 1-3 game and discussing whether you can actually make a living playing 1-3 poker and whether you need to be playing 2-5 and up. So it's going to be an interesting topic. If any of you would like to chime in and give me your win rates, if you don't feel comfortable about disclosing it on YouTube, you can always hit me up on Instagram. Just look for Poker with Doug. That's my Instagram name. Send me what your win rate is, and we'll be compiling all those other sources. I've asked a few friends and asked them how their win rate is and see if it's comparable to mine. And it should be a really fun topic to discuss, and I hope you tune in next time. Until then, good luck at the tables, and we'll see you in a couple days.